She laughed when she said it. Actually laughed. I fantasize about my ex when we're together. 31 years of marriage. And my wife just admitted she thinks about another man in our most intimate moments. I didn't yell. Didn't argue. I just stood up, walked to the garage, and fired up my '67 Mustang. She screamed when she realized what I was taking with me. But the car was just the beginning. My name is Adrian Whitmore. I'm 58 years old, and until 3 months ago, I was a commercial airline pilot with 32 years at Delta. I flew 777s across the Pacific, brought hundreds of thousands of people home safe. Faith and I have been together for 31 years. Our son Owen is 32, works in tech in Austin. Our daughter Camila just turned 29. She's a teacher in Phoenix. Good kids. Strong kids. We lived in a nice colonial in Raleigh, North Carolina. Faith ran a boutique event planning business, weddings mostly. That Tuesday night, I'd spent the afternoon detailing my 1967 Ford Mustang Fastback in the garage. Highland green, just like the one from that old Steve McQueen movie. I'd restored her myself over 5 years. Faith used to call it Adrian's other woman when we had guests over. Always said it with a laugh, but there was an edge to it. I made dinner that night. Grilled salmon, roasted vegetables, wild rice. Faith poured herself a glass of Chardonnay, then another. By the time we sat down, she was on her third. We ate in silence for a while. The kind of silence that used to be comfortable, but had turned cold. That's when she said it. You know what I was thinking about today? Faith swirled her wine, that crooked little smile on her face. What's that? I asked. Sometimes I fantasize about Todd, she said. Just like that. Casual. About my ex. When we're together, I mean. The fork stopped halfway to my mouth. I set it down slowly. The clock on the wall ticked. Our dog Charlie shifted under the table. I didn't say anything. Didn't ask her to explain. Didn't give her the reaction she was fishing for. Oh, come on, Adrian. Faith laughed, actually laughed. Don't be so dramatic. It's just a thought. You're so uptight sometimes. I folded my napkin, placed it beside my plate. Stood up. Where are you going? She asked, annoyance in her voice. I walked to the garage. Didn't slam the door, didn't storm off. Just walked. Calm. Steady. The Mustang sat there under the fluorescent lights, gleaming. I pulled the cover back, ran my hand along the fender. This car never lied to me. Never tried to make me feel small. I got in, turned the key. That V8 roared to life. Faith appeared in the doorway, wine glass still in hand. Are you seriously going to pout in the garage now? She called out. God, Adrian, grow up. I didn't answer. Just hit the garage door opener. When I backed out of that driveway, she was standing on the front steps, and I saw it. That moment when the smile fell off her face. When she realized I wasn't circling the block. She screamed something. I couldn't hear it over the engine, and I didn't care to. I drove, and for the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. I drove for 2 hours that night. No destination, just motion. The Mustang hummed beneath me, steady and reliable, while my phone lit up on the passenger seat. Faith calling. Faith texting. I let it all go to voicemail. Around midnight, I pulled into Equality and off Highway 64. The clerk, a kid maybe 25, barely looked up from his phone as he handed me a key card. Room 217. Single bed, outdated carpet, a painting of a lighthouse bolted to the wall. It was perfect. Quiet. Mine. I sat on the edge of that bed and finally looked at my phone. 12 missed calls. 8 text messages. The progression was almost textbook. First message, sent 10 minutes after I left. Really? Second message, an hour later. Are you serious right now? Third, you're acting insane. Fourth, Adrian, this is childish. Come home so we can talk like adults. Fifth, fine. Stay out there and sulk. See if I care. No apology. No acknowledgement of what she'd actually said. Just irritation that I'd dare to have a reaction. I set the phone face down on the nightstand and stared at the ceiling. 31 years. 3 decades of building a life with someone who apparently spent our intimate moments thinking about another man. How long had it been going on? Was Todd just a fantasy, or was there more to it? Todd Grimm. I remembered him vaguely from the early days. Faith's boyfriend before me, some finance guy with a convertible and a summer house his parents owned. She'd broken up with him right before we met, or so she said. But she'd mentioned him over the years, always casually. Todd used to take me to this restaurant. Todd always said I looked good in red. Little comments I brushed off as harmless nostalgia. Now they felt like breadcrumbs I'd been too stupid to follow. I didn't sleep much that night. Kept replaying the dinner in my head, the way she'd smiled when she said it. Like she enjoyed twisting the knife. Like my reaction was the whole point. The next morning, I called my sister Marlene. She lived in Durham, about 40 minutes away, taught chemistry at Duke. Faith had never liked her much. Said she was too serious, too judgmental. Translation: Marlene didn't put up with nonsense. Adrian. Marlene's voice was sharp with concern. It's 7 in the morning. What's wrong? I told her everything. The dinner, the comment, the drive. She listened without interrupting, which was one of the things I'd always appreciated about Marlene. She didn't fill silence with empty reassurances. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "What are you going to do?" "I don't know," I admitted. "I just know I can't go back there and pretend this didn't happen." "Good," Marlene said firmly. "Because she's counting on you doing exactly that. Faith's been dismissing you for years, Adrian. You've just been too loyal to see it. That hit harder than it should have. You think I'm blind?" "I think you're a good man who wanted to believe the best in his wife," Marlene said. "But yes, you've been blind. And now you're awake. So don't go back to sleep." We talked for another 20 minutes. She offered me her guest room, no questions asked. I told her I needed a day to think, but I'd keep it in mind. After we hung up, I sat in that motel room and made a decision. I wasn't going home. Not yet. Not until I knew what I was dealing with. I opened my laptop and started searching for a lawyer. The attorney's name was Douglas Pemberton. His office sat on the 3rd floor of a brick building in downtown Raleigh, the kind of place with frosted glass doors and leather chairs that cost more than most people's monthly rent. I found him through a pilot buddy who'd gone through a messy divorce 5 years back. "Mr. Whitmore," Pemberton said, shaking my hand firmly. He was maybe 50, gray at the temples, sharp eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Have a seat. Tell me what brings you here." I told him everything. The dinner, Faith's comment, the texts, the pattern of disrespect I'd been ignoring for years. He listened without interruption, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, he set down his pen and leaned back. "How long have you been thinking about this?" "Divorce, I mean." "Since Tuesday night," I said. "But honestly, probably longer. I just didn't want to admit it." Pemberton nodded slowly. "Mr. Whitmore, I'm going to be direct with you. North Carolina is an equitable distribution state. That means marital assets get divided fairly, not necessarily equally. The house, retirement accounts, investments, all of it goes into the pot unless it was inherited or gifted specifically to one party." "I understand," I said. "Your pension from Delta, that's a big asset. She'll have a claim to at least part of it." He flipped through his notes. "You said she runs an event planning business?" "Barely," I said. "It loses money most years. I've been propping it up." "Good to know." Pemberton made another note. "Here's what I recommend. Don't go home yet. Don't engage in long conversations or arguments. Document everything. Save every text, every voicemail. If she's been having an affair, we need proof. Messages, emails, photos, anything." I thought about Todd Grimm. I don't know if it's physical. She said she fantasizes about him. "Emotional affairs count too, especially if there's ongoing contact," Pemberton said. "Does she have access to your financial accounts?" "Joint checking and savings. But I have a separate account for my pension deposits." "She's not on that one." "Smart. Keep it that way." He tapped his pen on the desk. "Mr. Whitmore, I'm going to give you some advice that might sound cold. If you're serious about this, you need to start thinking strategically. This isn't about revenge. It's about protecting what you've built." "I'm listening," I said. "First, open a new bank account at a different bank. Start routing your direct deposits there. Leave enough in the joint account to cover household bills, nothing more. Second, document your wife's spending habits, especially on her business. Third, get copies of everything. Tax returns, mortgage papers, investment statements, credit card bills. And fourth," he paused, looking at me carefully, "consider whether you want to file for separation. It starts the clock on the mandatory 1-year waiting period before divorce in North Carolina." I sat back in a chair. A year seemed like a long time. But also, after 31 years, what was 12 more months? "Do it," I said. "Whatever it takes." Pemberton smiled slightly. "I'll draw up the papers." 3 days later, I was back at the house. Faith's car was gone when I pulled into the driveway, probably at the studio or having lunch with her friends. I timed it that way. Marlene had agreed to come with me, moral support and witness in case things went sideways. You sure about this? Marlene asked as we walked up to the front door. I need to get some things, I said, unlocking it. And I need to check something. The house felt different. Colder, maybe. Or just unfamiliar now that I've been gone. Charlie came trotting up, tail wagging. I scratched his ears, feeling a pang of guilt. The dog didn't deserve to be caught in the middle of this. What are we looking for? Marlene asked. Her closet, I said. And her computer. We went upstairs. Faith's walk-in closet was organized chaos, clothes and shoes everywhere, but somehow in a system only she understood. I started going through drawers, looking for anything that might confirm what I already suspected. Third drawer down, I found it. Not hidden exactly, but tucked under some scarves. An old iPhone, the one she'd replaced 2 years ago. She'd told me she'd traded it in. Apparently not. I powered it on. The battery was dead, but I pocketed it anyway. Adrian, Marlene called from the bedroom. Come look at this. She was standing at Faith's desk, her laptop open. It wasn't even password protected, Marlene said. She left her Facebook logged in. I walked over and looked at the screen. Faith's messages were open. And there, third from the top, was a conversation with Todd Grimm. My hands shook as I scrolled up. Messages going back months. Nothing explicitly physical, but intimate. Too intimate. I think about you all the time. He doesn't understand me like you did. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if we'd stayed together. And then, from 2 weeks ago, I'm not happy anymore. Haven't been for years. I pulled out my phone and started taking pictures of the screen. Every message, every date stamp, every pathetic word. There's more, Marlene said quietly, clicking into another tab. Emails. Looks like she's been planning something. Emails to a real estate agent. Asking about property values in our neighborhood. Asking what a house like ours would sell for in the current market. She'd been planning this. Maybe not divorce exactly, but an exit strategy. And she probably intended to take me to the cleaners on her way out. Not anymore. I finished photographing everything, closed the laptop, and looked at Marlene. Let's go, I said. I've got everything I need. Pemberton moved fast. Within a week, he'd filed a motion for legal separation and served Faith with papers at her event planning studio. I wasn't there to see her reaction, but Owen told me about it later. Apparently, she called him in hysterics, claiming I was being irrational and cruel. What did you tell her? I asked Owen during our phone call. I told her I'd heard both sides. Owen said carefully, and that maybe she should have thought about consequences before she said what she said. She's angry with you, I guessed. She'll get over it. Owen paused. Dad, I need to tell you something. About a year ago, Mom asked me if I thought you'd ever leave her. I said no, that you were too committed. She laughed and said, that's the problem. Another knife. Another confirmation that I've been living with a stranger. Thanks for telling me, I said. The next phase of Pemberton's strategy was surgical. He'd advised me to close the joint credit cards, which I did. Faith discovered this when her card was declined at some boutique in Durham. She called me 17 times that day. I didn't answer. Then came the bank accounts. I left exactly enough in our joint checking to cover the mortgage and utilities for 1 month. Everything else went into my new account. Legal, Pemberton assured me. Questionable morally, maybe, but legal. Faith's texts escalated from angry to desperate. What are you doing? We need to talk about this. You're destroying our family. But the one that made me delete her number entirely came Thursday night. Fine. If you want war, you'll get war. I'll take everything you love. I forwarded the text to Pemberton. He replied within minutes. Perfect. Save that. By Friday, Faith had hired her own attorney. Some guy named Preston Vance, who apparently specialized in aggressive representation for women in difficult divorces. Translation. He was expensive and mean. Pemberton wasn't worried. Let it be aggressive, he said when we met that afternoon. We have documentation. Messages between her and Todd, her spending habits, her plans to liquidate assets. Vance can bluster all he wants. What about the Mustang? I asked. She always said she'd get it in the divorce. Pemberton smiled. About that, I need you to do something that might seem strange. I need you to sell the Mustang to your sister Marlene. For $1. Today. I stared at him. You want me to sell my car? Not really, Pemberton said. I want you to transfer ownership temporarily. Marlene holds the title for now. After the divorce is final, She transfers it back. It's called asset protection, and it's completely legal as long as we document it properly. Faith will go nuclear, I said. Let her. Pemberton leaned forward. Mr. Whitmore, your wife has been planning to take you apart for months, maybe longer. She's got Todd waiting in the wings. She's been documenting your assets, and she's told your children you don't inspire her. This isn't about being petty. It's about making sure you don't spend the rest of your life paying for her mistakes. He was right. I knew he was right. That afternoon, Marlene and I went to the DMV, signed the papers, transferred the title. The Mustang was legally hers for the sum of $1, notarized and filed. When Faith found out, the screaming voicemail she left was something special. You transfer the car? That car is mine. You're going to regret this, Adrian. I swear to God, you're going to regret everything. I didn't regret anything. For the first time in years, I was thinking clearly. 2 weeks later, I invited Owen and Camila to Marlene's house for an early dinner. Not Thanksgiving, just a Thursday in October. But I needed to talk to them both, and I needed them to hear it from me. They arrived within minutes of each other. Owen in his Tesla, Camila in her Honda. Both looked nervous. Dad, what's going on? Camila asked as we sat down in Marlene's dining room. I pulled out my phone and set it on the table. I need to show you something. It's not easy to see, but you deserve to know the truth. I played them the messages. Faith and Todd, going back months. The fantasies, the complaints, the plans. Then I showed them the emails, the asset spreadsheet, the real estate inquiries. Camila's face went pale. Owen's jaw tightened. She was planning to leave you. Owen said quietly. And take everything. Not just leave, I said. She was planning to make sure I had as little as possible when she did. Camila wiped her eyes. Why are you showing us this? Because your mother's going to tell you a different story, I said. She's going to say I abandoned her. That I'm cruel. That I'm having some kind of breakdown. And I need you to know the truth before she rewrites it. Dad, Owen said, his voice hard. Last Thanksgiving, when you were outside fixing the breaker, Mom got drunk. Really drunk. She told me and Nora that she'd settled for you. That she wanted someone more exciting, more ambitious. She said you were like a safety net she'd never wanted to use. The words hung in the air. Camila looked at her brother, shocked. You didn't tell me, she said. I didn't want to believe it, Owen admitted. I thought maybe it was just the wine. But seeing this, he gestured at my phone. It wasn't the wine. This is who she is. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Camila reached across the table and took my hand. What do you need from us? She asked. Just honesty, I said. When she asks you to take sides, and she will, I need you to tell her the truth. Not for me. For yourselves. Owen nodded. She's not going to like that. No, I agreed. She's not. Faith showed up at Marlene's house on a Tuesday afternoon. I was in the garage, working on the Mustang's carburetor, when I heard the shouting from the driveway. I know it's here, Adrian. Faith's voice carried through the open garage door. You can't hide it from me, forever. I wiped my hands on a rag and walked out to meet her. Marlene was already on the front porch, arms crossed, looking like she was about to call the police. Faith, I said calmly, you need to leave. That car is mine, Faith said, pointing at the Mustang visible through the garage door. You had no right to transfer it. It's Marlene's car now, I said, legal and notarized. You got the paperwork from your attorney. That's fraud. Faith's face was red, her voice shaking. You're hiding assets. Preston says we can go after you for that. Preston can try, I said. But transferring property to a family member for $1 isn't fraud. It's estate planning. People do it every day. Faith took a step toward me. You think you're so smart, don't you? You think you can just walk away from 31 years like it means nothing. I didn't walk away from 31 years, I said, my voice steady. I walked away from a woman who told me she fantasizes about another man. There's a difference. It was a joke. Faith screamed. I've apologized 100 times. No, you haven't, I said. You've made excuses. You've blamed me for overreacting. You've told everyone I'm having a breakdown. But you haven't actually apologized. Because you're not sorry. You're just angry you got caught. Faith's expression shifted. For just a moment, I saw something vulnerable there. Then hardened again. Fine, she said. Keep the car. Keep your precious Mustang. But when this is over, you're going to realize you threw away a good thing for nothing. Faith, I said quietly. The good thing ended years ago. We've just been pretending since then. She stared at me, opened her mouth to say something, then closed it, turned, and walked back to her Lexus. She peeled out of Marlene's driveway fast enough to leave rubber on the street. Marlene came down from the porch. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said. "Actually, I am." That evening, Pemberton called with news. Faith's attorney reached out. "They want to settle." "Already?" I asked. "Your evidence is too strong," Pemberton said. "The messages with Todd, her asset planning, the disparaging comments to your kids. Vance knows if this goes to trial, she'll look terrible. Judges don't like calculating spouses. What are they offering? House gets sold. Proceeds split 60-40 in your favor because you paid the mortgage for the last 10 years while her business lost money. She gets nothing from your pension. You keep the Mustang once Marlene transfers it back, and she pays her own legal fees." I thought about it. 60-40 wasn't everything, but it was fair. More than fair, considering. "One condition," I said. "She signs a document acknowledging the affair with Todd and her plans to liquidate assets. I want it in writing." Pemberton was quiet for a moment. "That's not standard." "I don't care," I said. "I want the truth documented. Not for revenge. For closure." "I'll propose it," Pemberton said. "But Adrian, be prepared for her to refuse." She didn't refuse. 3 days later, Faith signed. Her attorney probably advised her it was better than risking a trial. Better than having a judge read those messages out loud in open court. The divorce would be final in 8 months, after the mandatory separation period. But the war was over. I'd won. Not because I got the Mustang or the better settlement, but because I finally stood up for myself. 6 weeks after Faith signed the settlement agreement, I met someone. Her name was Rebecca, and she worked at the restoration shop where I'd bought parts for the Mustang over the years. I'd seen her dozens of times. Always professional, always friendly. Never thought about it as anything more. But when I came and picked up a new alternator, she asked me how I was doing. Really asked. In that way that meant she actually wanted to know. "Getting through a divorce," I said. "It's been complicated." "I'm sorry," Rebecca said. And she sounded like she meant it. "Those are never easy." We talked for 20 minutes. She told me about her own divorce 5 years back. How she'd rebuilt her life after her husband left her for someone younger. How she'd found peace in working with her hands, fixing old cars, bringing broken things back to life. "There's something honest about it," Rebecca said, gesturing at the shop around us. "You can see what's broken. You can fix it. Not like people." I laughed. "People are a lot more complicated." "They are," she agreed. "But sometimes they're worth the effort anyway." When I left, she handed me her card with her personal number written on the back. "If you ever want to talk," she said, "or just need someone who understands old cars." I called her 3 days later. We got coffee, then dinner, then a drive in the Mustang with the windows down and classic rock playing on the radio. Rebecca didn't ask about Faith, didn't pry into the details of my divorce. She just listened when I needed to talk and changed the subject when I needed a distraction. A month later, Owen and Camila met her. We had dinner at Marlene's house, casual and low-key. Rebecca brought homemade apple pie and charmed everyone within 5 minutes. After dinner, Camila pulled me aside in the kitchen. "She's good for you, Dad," Camila said. "You seem lighter, like you're actually happy." "I am," I said, and I meant it. The divorce finalized in March. Faith moved into a condo in Durham, closer to Todd, who'd apparently left his own wife shortly after our separation. I heard through Owen they were dating. Good for them. They deserved each other. I got the Mustang back from Marlene with a proper title transfer. Kept my pension intact. Walked away with enough from the house sale to buy a smaller place near the airport. But more than any of that, I got my self-respect back. One Saturday morning, Rebecca and I took the Mustang out to the coast. Drove with the windows down, her hand resting on mine over the gear shift. We stopped at a diner for breakfast and watched the sun come up over the Atlantic. "You know what I love about this car?" Rebecca said, running her hand along the dashboard. "What's that?" "It's proof that broken things can be beautiful again," she said. "You just have to be willing to put in the work." I looked at her, this woman who understood me without needing explanations, and smiled. "Yeah," I said. "I guess they can." 4 months after the divorce finalized, I got a call from Owen. His voice had that careful tone that meant he was delivering news I wouldn't like. "Dad, you need to know something," Owen said. "Mom's boutique went under. She filed for bankruptcy last week." I was sitting in my living room, the new place I bought near RDU Airport. Small, manageable mine. What happened? Without your money covering the losses, she couldn't keep it afloat. Owen explained. She had debts to vendors, unpaid taxes. It all collapsed pretty fast. I should have felt satisfaction, maybe even vindication. Instead, I just felt tired. Is she okay? Financially? No. She's living off credit cards and what's left from the house sale. But Dad, there's more. Owen paused. She owes money to a lot of people. Some of them are coming after her legally. One of the vendors got a judgment against her for $80,000. $80,000. I sat up straight. For what? Unpaid invoices from when she was planning that big corporate event last year. Owen said. The one that fell through. She'd already ordered everything on credit and never paid it back. The corporate event. I remembered that. Faith had been so excited. Said it would put her business on the map. When the client backed out, she'd assured me it was handled. Apparently not. Owen, I'm not responsible for her business debts, I said carefully. The divorce settlement was clear about that. I know, Owen said. But she's telling people you left her high and dry. That you abandoned her when she needed you most. Some of her friends are buying it. Let them, I said. The people who matter know the truth. 3 weeks later, Faith called me. First time since the divorce finalized. I almost didn't answer. Adrian, Faith said when I picked up. Her voice was small, defeated. I need help. With what? I asked, keeping my tone neutral. The judgment. The vendor. They're going to put a lien on everything I have. I'll lose the condo. She took a shaky breath. I know I don't have the right to ask, but is there any way? No, I said firmly. Faith, those are your debts from your business. The business I warned you about for years. I'm not bailing you out. Please, Adrian. I made mistakes, I know that. But I'm drowning here. You made choices, I said. Choices to run a business into the ground while spending my money. Choices to plan an exit strategy instead of working on our marriage. Choices to humiliate me at dinner and then act like I was the problem. Those weren't mistakes. They were decisions. And decisions have consequences. Silence on the other end. Then, I never thought it would end like this. Neither did I said. But here we are. I hung up. She didn't call back. Pemberton had warned me this might happen. When the money runs out, they always come back, he'd said. Stand firm. You earned your freedom. Don't pay for it twice. He was right. I'd spent 31 years paying for Faith's choices. I wasn't going to spend the rest of my life doing it. That evening, Rebecca came over. We made dinner together, something simple. Grilled chicken and vegetables. After we ate, we sat on the back porch and watched the sun go down. Faith called today. I told her. Asked for money. What did you say? Rebecca asked. No. She reached over and squeezed my hand. Good. Does that make me cruel? I asked. No, Rebecca said. It makes you smart. You can't save people who don't want to save themselves. She was right. And for the first time since that dinner 4 months ago, I felt completely at peace with everything that had happened. 10 months after I walked out of that house, I stood in Owen's backyard in Austin, watching my grandson chase fireflies in the evening light. Owen and his wife Nora were hosting a late summer barbecue. Family and friends scattered across the lawn. Camila was there with her boyfriend Jake, a teacher like her. They'd gotten serious fast, and I liked him. He reminded me of myself at that age. Steady, reliable, present. Rebecca stood beside me, her hand in mine. She fit into my family like she'd always been there. Made jokes with Owen, talked teaching strategies with Camila, got down on the grass to play with Chase. Dad, Owen said, coming up beside me with 2 beers. He handed me one. Can I ask you something? Sure, I said. Do you regret any of it? Owen asked. Walking away, the divorce, all of it. I thought about that Tuesday night. The dinner, Faith's words, the moment I stood up from the table. The long road that followed. Lawyers, arguments, sleepless nights wondering if I'd made the right choice. No, I said. I regret not doing it sooner. Owen smiled. Good. Because you seem happier than I've seen you in years. He was right. I was happy. Not the frantic, desperate happiness of someone trying to convince themselves. Just the quiet, steady happiness of a man who finally stopped pretending. Later that evening, after Chase was in bed and the guests had gone home, the 4 of us sat on Owen's back deck. Rebecca and Nora were talking about some restaurant they wanted to try. Owen leaned back in his chair and looked at me. Mom called me yesterday, he said. Asked if I'd talk to you about helping with her debts. What did you tell her? I asked. I told her I wasn't getting in the middle of it. Owen said that she made her choices and needed to live with them. He paused. She didn't take it well. Said I was being cold. That family should help family. Family works both ways. I said. She spent years treating me like I was replaceable. I'm not obligated to save her from herself. I know, Owen said. And for what it's worth, Dad, I'm proud of you. For standing up for yourself. For not backing down. It took guts. Those words meant more than any settlement, any vindication, any victory in court. A month later, I was back in Raleigh, the Mustang purring in Marlene's driveway. She came out with 2 cups of coffee and sat in the passenger seat. You look good, Adrian, Marlene said. Really good. I feel good, I said. You and Rebecca getting serious? She asked. Maybe, I admitted. We're taking it slow. But yeah, I think so. Marlene smiled. Good. You deserve someone who appreciates you. We sat there for a while, drinking coffee, watching the neighborhood wake up. The Mustang hummed quietly beneath us, that V8 engine ready to go anywhere I wanted. You know what the best part is? I said finally. What's that? I don't have to prove anything anymore, I said. Not to Faith. Not to anyone. I'm just living my life. And it's enough. Marlene raised her coffee cup. To being enough. I clinked my cup against hers. To being enough. I fired up the Mustang and drove home, windows down, the morning sun warm on my face, feeling like a man who'd finally found his way back to himself.